It started crumbling as they brought it up. And so there was only certain pieces that were left, the top part of the ship. And so they had to kind of bring it over and sit it down as it was crumbling. And so they decided to scrap the whole thing. I'm Cynthia Lazaris, and I collect wax. I love everything rare, weird, and wonderful. I have been spending my entire life traversing swap meets, garage sales, and auctions, looking for the newest piece to add to my collection. As you look around the room, there's a little bit of everything. Join me on my journey to find the weird and the wonderful. Well, it all started way back in the 1990s, and I was about 8 months pregnant, and I went to a Disney show and sale that was at our Disney convention in Anaheim, California. I was a Disney member of a very unique club, which was called the NFFC, and it's now called the Disneyana Fan Club. I was at this auction and saw something that I wanted, which was an Alice in Wonderland board game. And what was so unique about it is there was only one, and it was designed by Russell Schroeder, which was a Disney artist, and it was made as a prototype for future Disney Alice in Wonderland games that was going to be sold at Disneyland. Well, I ended up getting that particular game, and I was then approached by Russell Schroeder, which was the artist, and he said he really wanted that game because he had designed it. Well, I wanted the game too, so he was trying to figure out a way that would make us both happy. Well, Marion Guyver, which was the president of the club at that time, she happened to have gone to a Disney garage sale, which was held at Disneyland for employees only. And what was so unique about it is that she stumbled upon the door to the pirate ship, which was at Disneyland in Fantasyland. Well, Marion Guyver, which was really a preservationist for Disney memorabilia, she was our president of the Disneyana Fan Club. She told us a story one day at one of our club meetings about how when they were getting ready to make a big change in Disneyland, and they were going to be doing a makeover of Fantasyland. Well, they wanted to make it bigger, and one of the things that they had to do was to take out the pirate ship. Many of you remember how it looked back in the beginning days, the early days of Disneyland, where the pirate ship, which held a restaurant, cafe, and it was in a setting of a lagoon, which was surrounded by water, and then you would walk up the steps and you would be onto the ship, and you could go in and buy your tuna fish, and you could get a tuna boat, which was a little hot dog bun, and it was filled with tuna, and it had a little flag in it, and it was really cute. Or they would have hot tuna sandwiches. It sounds kind of awful at the moment, but I'm just saying it was really wonderful way back in the early 60s to be able to go there and sit out on the ship and sit at a little table and look off into the lagoon. And of course there was a skull rock with the skull, and it was a waterfall of water coming out, and sometime you would be visited by Captain Hook or Peter Pan, and they would fight, and you would be able to see them sword fight, and it was really exciting. Well, she had told us that they wanted to keep the boat. They were going to place it somewhere else in Fantasyland. The day that it happened, well, they brought in a big crane and they started lifting it up and up. But what happened was, because this boat had been sitting inside water for all those years, it started crumbling as they brought it up. And so there was only certain pieces that were left, the top part of the ship. And so they had to kind of bring it over and sit it down as it was crumbling. And so they decided to scrap the whole thing. And so that's the story on that. Well, as I said, I was pregnant and I thought, wow, this is something I would love to be able to have and put it in my son's new room. Well, Marion and Russell both thought, let's make a deal. And they decided to do a trade, fair and square. Well, after I got it, and I was so proud of having it. In fact, Dave Smith, was in charge of the Disney archives, he had come over and looked at the door, and he kind of authenticated it by saying, yes, it is the door to the pirate ship. And so I had a picture taken with him, and I'm 8 months pregnant, and we have the door in the picture with us. The E-Ticket, which was a Disney magazine that came out, and it was very thorough. And each month that they would come out with a particular subject, they were really thorough on their research. And they both approached me and asked me if I would like to sell the door. Well, they started giving me some numbers of what they wanted, and then they would go back after I had said no, that I wasn't interested because I just got this door and it was very exciting to me. So then they would go off and they would come back with a higher number. Well, it kept getting higher and higher, and I was getting kind of excited that, man, this must be something that's really, really valuable to them. But it was valuable to me too, because me being a Disney lover, and I loved Peter Pan, and I loved the whole thought of even having a part of Disneyland in my house was so exciting. So I kept telling them, no, no, no. Then I said, not for all the money in the world. And I'm sure they had a client that was very much interested in this piece. So here it is. It was in my house back when my son was born, back in the 90s. And here it is in my home, as you can see it today. I have some interesting pictures too, which is even crazier. I have a picture of my husband with his mother and his brother standing in front of this door way back in the late 50s when they first went to Disneyland. And then I have a picture of myself, and we put them inside the little windows inside the door, as you can see it. And so that's a very interesting story to have, how I obtained this. So it is very difficult to be able to get items from Disney, and if you do, they're usually being sold at auctions. Like for instance, Van Eaton Gallery usually has a Disneyana auction going on, where it is pieces that come out of collectors' homes that have cared for them all those years, and they're sold. And there's always something for everybody, so it's not obtainable to be able to get something from Disneyland, but they usually do go for high dollar because they're very valued. This is my Pirates of the Caribbean attraction poster that came out of Disneyland pre-1980s. Pirates of the Caribbean ride had an attraction poster in front of it. It was in a glass case, and then when they did the big makeover where they brought in the bridge and you would walk through underneath the bridge to go into the front door, they had changed everything and they got rid of the poster. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to 1965 when it was the World's Fair, and Walt Disney had some very interesting things that he wanted to display and show to the public and get some feedback on where he should be going next with Disneyland attractions. First of all, the Small World ride, which was shown at the 1965 World's Fair in New York, was a big success because it was a little boat and it took through all the people that would get into the boat, and they would go through and they would see all the different little dolls from around the world, and it was all dressed up to where they were representing each country. And it was a big success. Everybody raved about the success of this ride. Well, this changed some things in Walt Disney's head, because before, his thoughts on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride that he wanted to have was not going to be a ride, but a wax museum. In fact, he wanted it to be a walkthrough where you would stop and you would see certain things displayed of what a pirate's life was down in the Caribbean. And so he would go to Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park, and he would wander through, and then he went over to Gene White Studios, which was in Buena Park, where they made a lot of the wax figures. And he would look at them and he would see how he wanted to go forward on this concept that he had for the Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, since the Small World ride was so successful, he decided to scrap the wax museum and to make it a ride. And he was just learning about the animatronics and how things could be moving instead of just stationary, which is what he wanted to always think ahead and make it a successful event, because he always felt he wanted to push himself to make it be the very best. And to be the very best, he brought in some wonderful top Disney Imagineers. The first one that he brought in was Blaine Gibson, which is a sculptor, and he had a very good knowledge about animatronics. The next person that he brought in was Mark Davis. Mark Davis had a unique way of taking a subject and kind of twisting it and making it a little bit more appealing and maybe a little cartoonish and appealing to the public. And then he brought in Extensio, which is the one who ended up writing the lyrics for the ride It's a Pirate's Life for Me, that was repeated all through the exhibit.